video from Selwen that a bunch of you guys have recommended called "They Destroyed a Beloved Developer with a $200 million Flop." I wonder what this could be about. I wonder. I can see why you guys wanted me to look at this video, because I probably, like no joke, have talked about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League more than probably any other YouTuber, like, period. Like, we talked about that game a lot, and it's partially because it was like such a dumpster fire that there was always something to talk about, but it's also because of what it represented. Like, it really represented one of those things that has corrupted this generation of games, where it's an established developer we all know and love, and they have managed to corrupt them and destroy their reputation, all credibility, lost a lot of the talent, burned hundreds of millions of dollars, all at the altar of crappy live service nobody wanted. And so it was one of those things that, like, a lot of people were rooting for it to fail because it frankly deserved to fail. But it still is kind of sad now to look at, you know, the gravestone and be like, what a waste. What a waste. But anyway, let's see what Selwen says.
There was a time when superhero games were not a big deal, with some being bad. Then Rocksteady came and changed everything. Comments like this weren't just handed to Rocksteady Studios. They were earned with vision, passion, and 3 games that not only set the standard, but influenced action games for more than a decade.
Dude, I cannot express enough how much I love the Arkham games. And that's what makes it all the more amazing that they just crapped the bed so bad with Suicide Squad. Like, again, there's not really a comparable example to go from like a trilogy of phenomenally well-received, greatly beloved games to just a steaming pile of garbage that loses every penny that was put into it. Like, it really is remarkable.
The Batman Arkham trilogy, but with just one title, they burned a decade of goodwill to the ground.
You'll get a buzz out of
Pop, 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 pop. Have Harley kill him. That's what he did. That's what he did, and he didn't feel bad about it either. He actually left. There we go. He left. Founded a different studio. Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker, both of them gone. Into the wind, into the foggy streets of London. In it, they got a bottle of water and left. Straight rubbish is what that is. I think, you know, one important piece of this that I'm interested to see if someone brings up is that, you know, we all kind of have rose-tinted glasses a little bit, but Rocksteady was always like kind of greedy. Like, they were always sort of problematic, but they made such good games that you would hand wave it away. Like, I still remember being, I don't even know, 13, 14 years old, however old I was, when Arkham City came out. And that game was the talk of the town. Like, it was going to be amazing, and it was reviewing really well. Everybody was eating that up and loving it. And then I realized I wanted to buy a copy of the game. And I, you know, I'm just a kid, so I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at buying the used copy at GameStop. And the problem was GameStop was the place to buy from, because if you bought it from a different retailer, it did not include the DLC that had all the Catwoman missions. You remember those Catwoman missions? There's like a solid, I don't know, like 90 minutes, 2 hours of side quests and missions with Catwoman, where specifically after a sequence with Batman, he gets like thrown out the window in the wheelchair or whatever. And then it cuts to Wonder Woman into Catwoman. And there's a whole like sequence with Catwoman that flawlessly and seamlessly integrates into the main story of the game. And that was an optional thing that they sold separately unless you bought it through GameStop. And then it came included with your copy. But people forget that. People forget that it was like a separate thing entirely. Imagine if they did that today with a single player game and they just are like, yeah, like, you know, all these quests, like, yeah, we're just cutting them all out. Like, Ubisoft does that. Ubisoft does that. They do it with smaller like quest lines. I still remember the one they did for AC Origins where it was like the secrets of the pyramids or whatever was the exclusive pre-order quest line. If you pre-ordered the game, you got this quest line nobody else got unless you paid $5 for it. And it literally was like all of 15 minutes long. It was like hilariously short, and like it literally was, you walk through a corridor, you talk to a dude, you walk over here, you like collect this thing, and then the quest is over. Like it was really stupid. It was not substantive. But with Catwoman, there's like an entire separate thing that was ridiculous. Like it really was. They really did that. Yeah, dude. Catwoman, DLC, Arkham City. Let's see. Is this it? Catwoman Story Pack was an addition for Arkham City, woven throughout the events of Arkham City. The pack follows the perspective of Catwoman as she attempts to raid Hugo Strange's vault and leave Arkham City. So you can see there's part 1, 2, 3, 4. Downloading this pack allows player to free roam as Catwoman and collect special Riddler trophies tailored specifically for her. So none of those were available if you didn't buy this DLC or buy it through the partnered retailer. Then of course in Arkham Knight, they just had her in the game. But yeah, people forget that they always did kind of slimy stuff. Rocksteady was never like this super pro consumer publisher, or rather developer. They always did kind of slimy stuff, but the games were so good they could get away with it. But you know, with Suicide Squad, the problem was the game was just was not that good, so you can't get away with it.
Seeing him and playing the games, and as a character.
Didn't Star Wars Outlaws do something like that with Jabba the Hutt? Sort of. So they had an exclusive thing in Star Wars Outlaws that was exclusive if you pre-ordered the game or whatever. But Jabba the Hutt was in the game. It was a specific mission you would do for Jabba. So it's like a quest that he would give you for his tribe. Personally, I think that one was really poorly communicated on the part of Ubisoft, because the way they described it made it sound like Jabba the Hutt was locked behind a paywall, but that's not what it was. He's in the game and his group, the Hutts, are in the game. It's just there was a quest line, a specific little mini quest line that was locked behind a pre-order wall. Yeah. I think that Ubisoft shot themselves in the foot with that one because they phrased it really poorly, and so people blew up, and then the misconception started that they locked Jabba behind the paywall, but they didn't. It's a whole thing. But that's a topic for another video.
Love him. I still get a buzz out of seeing him and playing the games, and as a character, I still get a real buzz out of seeing what other people do with the franchise and films, and you know, I'm the first person in the queue to see that stuff. So.
Rocksteady Studios began as a small London-based team in 2004, founded by Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker. Their debut title, Urban Chaos: Riot Response, was a riot control FPS that flew under the radar for many, quietly earning a cult following years later. But in December 2006, everything changed. Eidos Interactive, publisher of Urban Chaos, had just secured the rights from Warner Bros. And DC Comics to make a Batman game. At the time, Batman-based video games had a reputation, and it wasn't great. Some were okay, most were forgettable. But Rocksteady, they had a vision.
You're in this kind of dark universe where you're not entirely sure of anyone's motives.
From the very first cinematic, when I saw the picture, it became really clear just how dark this was going to be.
And what came next was none other than Batman Arkham Asylum.
So good.
It's over, Joker.
Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight, it hasn't even begun.
Released in 2009, Arkham Asylum.
So good. And also Mark Hamill deserves a lot of credit for that too, because his performance was so killer too, dude.
Baron Krios donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I understand why they did that to incentivize pre-order numbers. Nowadays I think they should give $10 discount if you pre-order, so they can engage the interest and, therefore, potential profit.
I think that the tide is changing on it. It used to be more acceptable than it is now. So, for example, like with AC Shadows, when they started getting worried about pre-orders and stuff there, they pivoted, they stripped all that stuff out. They did still do the expansion. They included that for free. Was it the pre-order or was it the, I don't remember exactly how they broke it down, but they cut out a lot of that stuff. They got rid of the pre-order bonuses the same way that they were going to do it beforehand. And, you know, it's just because they realized we're not going to get away with it. We can't get away with it with this game. And so you know, all these companies, they'll be greedy until they can't get away with it anymore. And in the case of, you know, I think AC Shadows, Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft specifically couldn't get away with it anymore. But, you know, Rocksteady is an example of a studio that was able to get away with it for a long time because their games were just that good.
Dropped right as Batman's popularity was peaking, thanks to Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. It was equally dark, gritty, and mature.
What was good for us is that obviously they have a sort of similar take, the sort of kind of mature, sort of quite dark take on Batman. It's very sort of similar to the style that we've gone for.
But above all, it made you feel like Batman. The combat was simple, yet cinematic, brutal, yet rhythmic. The writing, penned by Paul Dini, the legend behind Batman the Animated Series. The voice cast, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin. Real Batman fans knew this was the dream team. The world was carefully woven, Metrovania-inspired, dripping with atmosphere. Even years later, Arkham Asylum holds up. It's tight, immersive, and respects the source material without being shackled by it. If you somehow never played it, do yourself a favor. Turn off the lights, crank up the volume, and become the damn Batman.
It still does hold up very, very well. I also think graphically it holds up too. This is an Unreal Engine 3 game, I believe it is. And it looks it. It looks very, very good. It's aged quite well. Arkham City's also aged pretty well as well. It's just a really well put together game that knows exactly what it's trying to be, and it nails it.
Passion and authentic feel of Arkham Asylum made it a critical and commercial smash, selling over 2 million copies in its first year, and today is nearing 10 million. But that kind of success gets noticed. In 2010, Warner Bros. Acquired the majority in Rocksteady. They now effectively owned the studio and the Batman IP. On paper, it looked like a match made in heaven. So what could go wrong?
So, you know my name. Good. Because I know everything about you. Your darkest secret. Your ultimate weakness. I know you are Bruce Wayne.
2 years later, Rocksteady delivered Batman Arkham City, taking...
Can we take a minute to appreciate Arkham City was put together in 2 years? 2 years. Think about that. They put out Arkham Asylum, which was baller, game of the year, and they take 2 years and put out Arkham City. Now, I've gone back and replayed Arkham City numerous times. It is smaller than you think. Like, I thought back to it, you know, years later after the fact, and I was like, I remember just the city being massive and super expansive. It's actually quite small. It's like a solid 6 or 7 city blocks is what it actually feels like. It's a very small package, but it's just really well executed. But I think that helped it. You know, part of the problem with games of the late 2010s going into like nowadays is that the scope has just gotten so out of control. Like every game has to be this Elden Ring, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild looking thing that's just stupid huge, and very, very few studios can pull off a game of that scale well. You know, they just bite off way more than they can chew. And that's why I think it's good that like some studios are taking a step back in terms of scale. You know, they're going and looking at something like Mafia of the Old Country and trying to go more linear, much more tight, instead of trying to make a Mafia 3 again. I think that's a better way to do it.
Taking the DNA of Asylum and unleashing it in an open world. It was bigger and improved. It sold over 12 million copies. Critics called it a masterpiece. Fans called it the greatest superhero game of all time. But while Rocksteady was rising, Warner Bros. Was planting red flags. In 2011, the industry was at war with used games, and WB's answer locked a small part of Arkham City, a playable Catwoman section behind an $8 VIP pass, unless you bought the game new. It felt anti-consumer, cheap, almost petty.
I don't think it felt that way. I think it was that. It was toxic as hell, dude. It was really stupid. But they did it because back in the day, you know, it was also another opportunity for added revenue, obviously. But he's right. They wanted to try and lock down, used copies. You remember the Xbox One era? The whole thing was the Xbox One was not going to allow you to buy used copies. They were going to be locked to your ID, your hardware ID. So you couldn't trade games, couldn't resell them, nothing like that. And then PlayStation had that iconic video.
This is how you share your games on PS4. Thanks.
PlayStation.
That was the whole ad. And it went like giga viral. It broke the internet because it was so good. And it showed how stupid Xbox was at the time for taking such an anti-consumer approach, with their stuff, being like, no, you can't do that. Can't do that. But it's because a lot of these big companies were worried that they were losing out on copies of sales, because to be fair, they were. I, as like whatever junior high school student or whatever at the time, I didn't have the money to throw at brand new $60 games. Like I just didn't have that kind of money. So I would go to GameStop and you'd buy a used copy for $12 or $15. And it's true, the original publisher wouldn't get a single dime of that because it's a used copy. They already sold that thing. So now it's gone. It's like, you buy a used car, Ford or whoever is not getting a cut of you buying the used car. They already got their money when they sold it new. They don't get a second like double dip of it. With video games though, they don't like that. The publishers don't like that because it's not like a product, they're providing a service. And so they want a piece of the pie every single time it sells and trades hands, which is why now also a lot of games are going the route of live service. They have DRM. It's why all of these studios and publishers love the idea of the all digital future for games, because if you only buy games digitally, not only can they revoke licenses and access when they see fit or don't want to support it anymore because it's too expensive, but they also can make it so secondhand copies just basically aren't a thing. There's no secondhand copy of a Steam game, you can't sell your games off of your Steam library because you're done with them. Imagine if you could do that, dude. My library would be so much smaller and I would have so much more money because I have a lot of games I've played. I don't need them anymore, but I bought them digitally, so they're stuck in here forever. Steam key sites, I don't think you can sell your key, though, after you've played the game. Can you? Is that a thing? I don't think you can. Like, you can buy a key and then sell it, but I don't think you can, like, extract your key from a game you've already played. But anyway, maybe you can, and I just don't know about it. NFTs, maybe that's the answer. You can't resell keys? Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, I missed a huge memo if you can do that. I was like, I guess I've been out of the game too long, man. I missed that. But yeah, it helps the publisher that you can't resell your digital copies. It's very much, intentionally done that way. Krieg Zeus, thank you for the 2. BBJ. Indeed, my friend.
That's most definitely what's up.
Yes. Also.
Shout out to the chess club.
Let's go.
And by 2013, another warning sign appeared. Batman Arkham Origins launched, but this one wasn't made by Rocksteady. It was developed by WB Games Montreal. While still a good game, Origins felt rushed and borrowing heavily from Arkham City's map. It was a prequel but felt like a glorified DLC. Maybe these were all signs that Warner Bros. Didn't just want to make great games. They wanted to squeeze them for revenue for as much as possible.
No, say it isn't so. Yeah, I mean, it was a spin-off project. Part of it was that, they wanted just extra cash. But in reality, a lot of it was that they didn't want to get caught in what I call now the Bethesda bubble. It's a working title. Basically, they just didn't want to get in this situation where they have an IP like, say, a Fallout that they don't touch for 20 years. Fair. They didn't want to just sit on an IP that people love and will spend money on and just not do anything with it for decades. Because that's what a lot of companies have done, and it wastes a lot of time and money, and it kind of wastes the IP as well, unfortunately, which is a problem we've run into with a lot of different companies. But for Batman Arkham Origins specifically, it was just that they went to Rocksteady, and the reporting was that Rocksteady said in 2011, after Arkham City, they said, we want to work on something crazy, ambitious, and just It's going to blow people's minds, but we need the next generation of consoles. We need to like maybe take 3.5, 4 years on this thing, which again, for them was a lot of time. They just pumped out Arkham City in 2 years, and they're saying we need like 4 or 5. So Warner Brothers was like, you're Rocksteady, you know what you're doing. We're not going to doubt you. Sounds good, but we're going to give you that time, but we're going to also share the IP and some of your tools with another team, and they're going to pump out a game in the interim so that there's not as big of a gap. And, you know, a lot of people still love Arkham Origins. I think it's a good, like, Christmas game. It's a good game to play during the holidays when it's snowy outside. But, you know, I don't think that this was necessarily like a totally evil, terrible, scummy thing to do. The game was still pretty solid. I don't think it's as good as the core trilogy of games, but I think it was still worth having, and I'm glad we have it today. In the same way that, like, if we were trying to lock it down to the original developers, we never would have gotten Fallout New Vegas, for example. Fallout New Vegas was created for this exact same reason, because ZeniMax was like, we're not going to sit on Fallout for 7 years, because BGS was like, hey, we did Fallout 3 in 2008. We're not going to get to Fallout 4 until 2015. And ZeniMax was like, are you crazy? That's 7 years. What a waste. And, you know, in the modern era, now, we probably don't get Fallout 5 until like 2034. 19 years after Fallout 4. There will be people who were toddlers when Fallout 4 came out that will be legally able to drink when Fallout 5 comes out. That's how long it's been between those two games. Okay? Just let that settle in. We're old.
But despite
2034, yeah. Based on their current dev cycles and dev times, yeah.
It's the noise. Rocksteady wasn't slowing down. By 2015, they returned with Batman Arkham Knight, a technical marvel. It pushed the PS4 and Xbox One to their limits. The Batmobile, the rain-slick streets of Gotham, a downright gorgeous world, even to today's standards. But the PC launch, a catastrophe.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst PC ports I've ever seen. It's locked to 30 FPS and still runs like crap. It has constant stuttering and the most bare-bones options menu I have ever seen in a modern title. It was so broken that WB pulled it from digital shelves.
Another thing people forget was how terrible the PC port was for Arkham Knight. Now, in Rocksteady's defense, they did not do it. It was a separate team. I think it was Iron Galaxy. It was atrocious, but they basically hired this other team to do it, and they did a bad job. And, you know, they suffered a lot. You could still say it falls on them because they're in charge of the game. Fair. It was Iron Galaxy. Okay, I thought so. Iron Galaxy, funnily enough, you know what game package they just put out? They just put out another one. They just put out the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 collection. That's Iron Galaxy as well. So small world, right?
One of the few AAA games in history to be removed from Steam post-release. Refunds were offered, patches came, and eventually it rebounded to very positive and even overwhelmingly positive on Steam. That's how strong the Rocksteady and Arkham brand was. But perhaps this was another sign. Maybe it was tight deadlines, maybe bad partnerships, maybe early signs of a studio pushed too far. Whatever it was, despite the misstep, Arkham Knight marked the end of a legendary trilogy, and it left Rocksteady on top of the industry. Underhill, Walker, and team, they weren't just the guys who made Batman games. They were the guys you could trust to make anything great.
I see the setup. This is the end of Act 1 before we get into Act 2, which is everything going terribly. As you'll see, I imagine he's going to now go through what happened after Arkham Knight. Rocksteady started to act like a studio without a rudder. Like it was a ship without a rudder. You know, they didn't have a clear direction. They didn't really know what they were doing. And part of that could be left up to the David Haddad, who was the head of Warner Brothers Games Publishing. And the thing you need to understand about Haddad, I'm interested to see if he brings him up. This guy, oh yeah. So David Haddad he took over. He was in charge for about 12 years. Okay. So he took over shortly before Batman Arkham Knight and saw that through. But one of the things that came out after the fact in Jason Schreier's reporting was that Haddad was like right in the gravy train day in, day out. So he had this amazing cushy job as an executive at Warner Brothers, made millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. But he basically did not want to take any risks or rock the boat at all. So he would just not really give approvals. It was known that he and his team were really hard to get a hold of. So if teams needed approvals or needed to get this project greenlit to hire more people or whatever it is, they couldn't get that done because he just refused to basically do anything. Because he's like, I don't want to screw it up. So he just wouldn't do anything. And it led to just a total stagnation for years and years and years of the Warner Brothers portfolio. It's why it's kind of funny that they ended up with the massive hit in the form of Hogwarts Legacy, because that was apparently something that he like gave the thumbs up on and then just kind of ignored for years and years. And then it ended up being the biggest success ever. So the thing he didn't mess with ended up being very successful. But David Haddad took over right around this time. And it's right about the time when Rocksteady, one of their most valuable assets, starts having massive problems and they can't figure out what the hell they want to do. But the other piece of this is that the two studio founders, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they also started to act like they didn't know what they wanted to do. Maybe it was that they just, like, they had already kind of peaked. And so now they were just creatively bored and they didn't know what to do. And so they just kept trying new things that just weren't working. And who knows? Who knows? But we're about to find out.
At least players thought. As we have learned with studios like BioWare, even legends fall.
This is the end of the trilogy for us, but we've not thought too much about what's next. But I don't think we necessarily wouldn't do original IP at it either. You know, like I don't think there's a conscious decision to do that. But I think whatever it is, it needs to have that kind of richness, that, you know, that level of detail, that lore that, you know, that Batman has. So good luck finding that, I guess.
After Arkham Knight, Rocksteady went quiet. The trilogy was over, the fans were hungry, and speculation ran wild. A Nightwing solo game, Catwoman, maybe even Superman or Wonder Woman. The timing couldn't be better. DC was trying to build its own cinematic universe to rival Marvel's. This was the moment to expand the Arkhamverse and build something bigger. But nothing happened, if not for some teases. Be patient, fans. I know we are not talking right now, but when we do, people are going to lose their minds. So
he wasn't wrong. People are they're gonna have a lot to say. Yes, we sure did.
While Rocksteady remained silent, WB was pushing hard into gaming. Injustice, Shadow of Mordor, Mortal Kombat, even Batman Arkham VR for whatever reason. But more than their games, it was WB business practices that raised eyebrows, and not in a good way. In 2014, Warner Bros. Was caught quietly and secretly paying influencers, including PewDiePie, thousands of dollars to promote Shadow of Mordor positively, without disclosing it. And although it was quite well received, not needing that promotion at all, it was deceptive, it was unethical, and eventually it led to a formal settlement with the FTC.
And now this is why, like, I think there was a game a handful of years ago. Was it Starfield or something? I don't know. There was a game where a bunch of people were accusing people who liked it of being paid off, or people, I don't think it was Starfield. It was, maybe it was Prince of Persia Lost Crown or something. But there were allegations that, like, if a reviewer or a YouTuber likes this game, they must be getting paid off. And it's like, bro, this is not 2013, 2014 anymore. Yes, that happened in 2014, and they paid millions upon millions of dollars in fines to the FCC for it. And now I'm telling you, as somebody who's had to, like, sign some of these disclosures and who has done sponsored content before, all of the companies I've ever worked with in this, like, era since I've started doing it are so freaking obsessed over following FTC guidelines. Sometimes it gets, like, even a little ridiculous, where they're like, you said thanks to X company for sponsoring this video. We need you to say thank you, because the actual name of the company is X, Y Incorporated. So you need to say that exactly so that it's very clear who is sponsoring it. It's like, yeah, but like if we say thank you XY for sponsoring the video, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They are very, very obsessed with following the letter of the law exactly because they don't want to get caught up in an FTC lawsuit or something because they screwed up and didn't disclose it fully or whatever. So is it possible there's some streamer out there that's doing a sponsored stream and not disclosing it? Yeah, it's possible. But the company, any company I've ever seen, they don't want to take that risk. Like I've had, there was that one like NFT company that was going around offering sponsorships, and they were like, well, no, we're not going to sponsor you to promote our NFTs. We're just going to give you a bunch of NFTs, and then, you know, we'd expect that you talk about it positively, but no, we're not sponsoring you. It's like, it sounds like you're sponsoring. And of course, very few people did that. A few of them did and, you know, promoted the crap out of it. Or like the crypto rug pulls, they'll do that type of thing all the time. But there are lawsuits and things that you get into with that stuff. Like there are slimy people out there for sure, but any sort of big established company that you probably have heard of, they're not messing around with it. They're not risking it because, you know, paying you whatever, like, I don't know how much they pay PewDiePie for a sponsored video, maybe 100 grand, 200 grand. I don't know. But whatever they pay him, they're going to pay a lot more in fines to the FCC than they would have saved by not disclosing it. Like it's just, it doesn't really happen anymore as far as I'm aware, but we'll see. TikTok is a different story though. There are dudes straight up on TikTok who will just lie. TikTok is the Wild West of scum and villainy. There are some great people on it. I know a lot of the TikTok dudes, great dudes, call them all friends. They're awesome. But yeah, on TikTok, there's also some of the worst people I know. They're on TikTok. It's a whole other thing.
They didn't stop there. In 2017, Warner Bros. And Monolith released Shadow of War, and despite being a single-player game experience, it was riddled with microtransactions and predatory loot boxes. The devs attempted to explain this brilliant new concept, but not to a great success.
Yeah, so the gold war chest and of course the gold loot chest fundamentally work in the same way, just larger and with some increasing sort of levels of rarity of what you can guarantee you're going to find in them. And they are the ones that you can purchase using the premium currency, so you can purchase gold.
This is pathetic, embarrassing, laughable.
Shout out Act Man, spotted in the wild. Look at that.
Why is this RNG loot box unlock system any better than something that isn't random? This is the same shit we have seen in hundreds of games already.
I want to read the whole thing. Some of you are saying it won't be microtransactions. Well, just you wait, champ. I think we all know how this will turn out. And even if it's not microtransactions, why is this RNG loot box unlock system any better than something that isn't random? Seems to be selling 100 games already. Yeah, and it ended up being something paid. Like you could buy the premium currency to get the premium boxes, and it was all
shit we have seen in hundreds of games already. Monolith later admitted that this did affect gameplay. Loot boxes and the marketplace were subsequently removed with a letter that felt almost apologetic. And when people thought it couldn't get worse, Warner Bros. Did the unthinkable. They patented the Nemesis system, a dynamic AI mechanic that made Shadow of War stand out. A system where enemies remembered your actions, climbed ranks and created emergent rivalries. It was innovative, it was beloved, and now it was off-limits to everyone else. They were going full anti-consumer, anti-competitive, and unapologetically corporate. And while they doubled down on monetization and control, Rocksteady finally made their move. August 22nd, the date was set. The moment.
By the way, I've seen some people ask, Luke, can they release the, or can, now that Monolith is gone, can they open up the patent and other studios use it? No. The patent is held by Warner Brothers, like Interactive Entertainment or Warner Brothers Incorporated, whatever the parent company is. So even though Monolith is gone and shut down now, no, I mean, it's the patent still held. Like they can't do anything. And you know, some people, I remember when we talked about this initially, people were like, well, what would you have them do? Like not patent it? And it's like, yes, that is my preference. Don't patent it. Like, for example, or there are some things that can be done. I think what Tesla did was they patented everything that they did, and then they opened up the patents and basically said publicly in a binding way, we're not going to sue companies that use our patents, so other electronic like EV companies can use the same patents and stuff and technologies that they developed. And they could do something similar, because I understand maybe the counter is, well, if they don't patent it, then somebody else is going to come in and patent it, and then they're going to not be able to make another Nemesis system game because they didn't do it. It's like, okay, well then they could patent it and then open the patent for everybody else to use. They can do that. They have the power. It's not a trademark. Like, patents aren't trademarks. Patents are patents. So they could open it up. They could license it out for $1. Like, they could do all sorts of things if they wanted to be, good for the industry, but instead they're choosing just to lock it down. Nobody can use it until after Fallout 5.
Fans had waited for the reveal of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Whoa! Look, it's Superman! The mighty Superman has just rescued that pilot!
What a show-off. Beat it, Spandex! We're on a top-secret assassination mission here!
No.
Millions tuned in.
It's a good trailer! A really good trailer. Turns out the game was almost nothing like that, but still.
Like ratio strong. The comments overflowing with excitement. For a brief moment, it felt like the magic was back. 5 years had passed since Arkham Knight. Hype had been built up, and the premise, although disappointing for not being a Superman game, was still exciting. And best of all, Batman was back, voiced one final time by the late, great Kevin Conroy. For a fleeting moment, it felt right. But behind the scenes, things were very different.
I found a female crying in the bathroom because a man who, despite her telling him not to, was groping her repeatedly, sending her messages in the evening, and when he was drunk he would start to fabricate stories that he was in fact sleeping with her to other colleagues.
Between 2018 and 2020, Rocksteady faced internal turmoil. Like many major studios around this time, allegations began to surface involving misconduct towards female employees and other minorities. A letter alleged that concerns had been ignored for years. Rocksteady swiftly responded in 2020 with a public statement to The Guardian, claiming that we are more passionate than ever to continue to develop our inclusive culture, and we are determined to stand up for all of our staff. The controversy came and went, and just when things seemed to stabilize, the delays began.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the most like non-statements I've ever heard. It's like, we're passionate about something, and yeah, we want to stand up for people. It's like, okay, cool, but like, you gonna answer any of that? Okay, I forgot about that. Real serious, thank you for the super chat. Couldn't they have used Nemesis system in Suicide Squad given it's Warner Brothers property? Yes, they could have. Imagine that game with a system where random enemies could get better against certain characters, so you had to counter them by using others. I mean, if you watch that critique I did of the Arkham franchise, it's still to this day I think is my top performing video of all time. Was that video. It's got like close to 4 million views or something on it, I think, on the big channel. In that video, I mentioned speculating, about what they could be working on next, because this was, I don't remember when I posted it, like maybe 2018, 2019, something like that. I mentioned that I think it would be cool if they made a Suicide Squad game, and I basically outlined something similar to that. And we all know how that ended, but they could have used it. The thing is, the Nemesis system was being used by Monolith in the Wonder Woman game. I spoke to somebody who was doing support work on it like a handful of months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was. And I think I've mentioned this on stream before, but the person that was doing support work on the game basically was describing how getting the Nemesis system working in the new tool set, like within Unreal Engine, was just a nightmare, because the thing was built in their proprietary engine, and then it was just a dumpster fire trying to get it working again. It just it was not transitioning well. And they were like, we're going to have to rebuild the entire Nemesis system from scratch, which is not easy. It's really not easy. So it was something they were using elsewhere within the company. And so they probably were like, we don't need to give Rocksteady the Nemesis system. We're using it elsewhere by the team that knows it. So we'll just leave it be. Because it's not as simple as just copy and paste the code in. It's much more elaborate than that.
In 2022, Sefton Hill broke the news. We have made the difficult decision to delay Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to spring 2023.
Dude, I kind of forgot about this. They initially announced it for 2022, and it was delayed when all was said and done by 2 years.
I know a delay is frustrating, but that time is going into making the best game we can. Delays can be a good thing. Sometimes more time means a better product. But then came 2023, and the first real gameplay reveal. And with it, those dreaded words: live service, always online, co-op.
Looter shooter as well. Yeah, this was such a colossal blunder on their part. Like, they showed it, I think graphically it looked fine, but it was so opposite of what everybody wanted the game to be that it just imploded. Like, all hype, all interest in the game, it was gone. It was just ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Incoming Ollie! Out of my way.
Guess Quinn ain't holding anything back for later.
The positive sentiment died faster than a Suicide Squad member without plot armor. Gravity looking very optional in this game.
Okay, that's a funny one. That's a good one. The one thing, again, I don't remember who initially said it, or if it was just, I think it was actually a comment on this gameplay video where somebody initially pointed out that we're just swinging around popping purple zits. And after I saw that, I was like, I can never unsee that. It really is like the gameplay loop is just going around popping purple zits. You can't unsee it once you see it. It's ridiculous.
There's absolutely no way this game was made by the same people who made Arkham Knight. I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguin starts speeding around, jumping whole buildings with a pink trail behind. Gone was the dark.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that's basically what happened with a couple of the other boss fights. It tonally felt so off. It was way more arcadey, and, there was debate. There was debate over why this happened that went back and forth. It basically seems like Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they were perfectionists. They didn't know what they wanted the game to be, so they had all sorts of different versions of this game over the years that they were working on. Like, at one point, the game had this whole like open world component driving this car around, and players would customize their cars and use that in combat. That got scrapped because it didn't make any sense when you could just swing places while you'd be using a car. So they scrapped that, but then the tank sections are still sort of in the game, even though they're used very sparingly. It's just across the board, it was super dysfunctional.
Gritty, story-driven single-player Arkham experience. In its place, a quirky looter-shooter, bullet sponge bosses with UI elements and effects, flying off anything and everything. So what exactly happened? Didn't Rocksteady get the memo that this style of games was doomed to fail? Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Redfall, even Gotham Knights, all live service experiments, all massive flops, all made by studios known for narrative-driven single-player games. So why did Rocksteady follow the same path? You see, originally, Suicide Squad was in development at WB Games Montreal, but wasn't working out. After the financial success of the Suicide Squad film in 2016, and before live service failures became clear, WB wanted in. This was the age of Overwatch, Destiny, and Fortnite. Live service games were printing a lot of money, so the Montreal project was scrapped, and WB handed the reins to Rocksteady, while the Montreal team worked on Gotham Knights.
But specifically, what's important to remember is that Jason Schreier also pointed out that the reporting, at least as far as I recall it, suggested that Rocksteady are the ones that wanted to make the live service game. the easy thing that started and the narrative that started to develop around the time of Suicide Squad's initial reveal and everything was, look what Warner Brothers forced them to do. But that doesn't actually seem like that's what happened. It seems like Rocksteady basically said, give us Suicide Squad. We want to turn it into this live service game. We can do it. It was Rocksteady's idea. They pitched it. They wanted to do it, not Warner Brothers forcing them to. Now, it's possible it's the other way around and the reporting's off or the sources were off. It's possible. But as far as I'm aware, having covered this game a lot, the Jason Schreier report from, I think, was it the post-mortem he did after the fact, or was it the one he did like 6 months into the game's lifespan? But there was one where he said that the initial pitch came from Rocksteady. It wasn't like, David Haddad called them and said, you're doing this now, suck it up, deal with it. I think it was in development hell at Montreal. They canned it and then they just kind of picked up the torch.
According to a Bloomberg report, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker were excited to tackle a new DC property, aiming for a 2020 release. But then, WB executives stepped in. They pitched a live service vision, calling it the future of gaming, and Rocksteady's own internal executives, names unknown, agreed, becoming the online multiplayer game with live service content we now know.
Yeah,
Online.
so this could be like the way that it's balanced, where like Warner Brothers executives are saying, hey, we think the future is games as a service such as Destiny, League of Legends, which generated sales long after the initial release, continuously re-engaging players with endless updates, raking in fresh profits year after year. Armed with battery presentations, Warner Brothers executives traveled to London, made the case that growing category was the industry's future. So they tell them, we think you should work on something live service. And then it was a field in which Rocksteady had no prior experience. The Batman Arkham games were all single player. Even so, Rocksteady executives, and I believe it was Jason Schreier was pointing out that it was Sefton Hill and Jimmy Walker themselves, the founders and people in charge of the studio. They decided that in keeping with their parent company's newfound enthusiasm, Suicide Squad would become an online multiplayer game. So, I mean, maybe it's Warner Brothers forcing them. I feel like if they wanted to just say no, they could have offered some resistance. I don't know. We don't know what we don't know. I'm guessing, and I'm just saying this as from what I've heard, the rumblings, typically there are bonuses associated with this stuff. So if the founders who own the studio can achieve a live service game that's very profitable, they will get a big fat payday. It's like, hey, if your game breaks $100 million in revenue for Q4, you get a 10% bonus of whatever that surplus is. Or if you can hit $1 billion in revenue, you get a $80 million payout, whatever it is, like some ridiculous bonus if you can achieve that. And, once you're an industry darling, you've made Game of the Year contenders and winners, and you're approaching like 50 years old, you're starting to think about retirement a lot more. That I could see that becoming tempting, Okay, well, we made a Game of the Year, Game of the Generation, Batman game. What if we just take that and apply those skills and our talent to make a live service version and make $1 billion there? Makes sense. So maybe it's a little bit of strong arming from Warner Brothers mixed with some delusion from Rocksteady executives mixed together into a sweet, delicious soup of nonsense.
Executives, names unknown, agreed, becoming the online multiplayer game with live service content we now know. As the failures of similar games rolled in over the next few years, came the ultimate final blow.
Gotham Knights was also weird because that was made by the same guys that did Arkham Origins. And it was single player and kind of mediocre, but it also, I don't have any clear evidence of this. I don't know if it's been reported or not, but it really felt like it was supposed to be a multiplayer game that was scrapped and turned into a single player game at one point. The UI was like straight out of a mobile game, filled with all of these like 15 different currencies that were used to craft armor sets and stuff. Like it really felt like it was going to be a live service or even mobile game at one point, and then it turned into what it did, and it just wasn't very good as a result. Gotham Knights is still a really, really weird game, even to this day. It's really strange.
Sefton Hill and Jimmy Walker left the studio.
Yep.
Just months after the first delay, they announced their departure to start a new studio, 100 Star Games, leaving Rocksteady on fire. By April 2023, yet another delay, now pushing the game to February 2024, gamers attempted to provide feedback, like removing its looter-shooter RPG mechanics, the live service elements, and to make each character more unique, as opposed to just gun-wielding maniacs.
It also, I'm sorry, it's like patently ridiculous to have King Shark in your game and then have him be a character that mainly uses a minigun. Like, you have all these characters. Harley Quinn, known for her like hammer. No, we're gonna have her use a shotgun. Oh, we've got Captain Boomerang. Does he use a boomerang? Well, mainly guns, but you know, like there were just so many things. It's like you got the layup to do some really cool like melee combat stuff, and then instead they just went full looter shooter, and it was just dumb. It was just stupid. But yeah, they delayed it another full year after this, and you know, Sentinel Jamie Walker left was it right before? I think it was right before the big gameplay reveal that was so terribly received. They left like 2.5, 3 months before it, and it really makes you pause and think, did they know the ship was sinking? Because again, I can't stress enough how insane it is to found a studio, lead it through a decade and a half of amazing success, and then you start working on a game that's not being received and talked about very positively. And so you decide to literally leave the entire company to start a different one. Like, how does that, how do you interpret that in any other way than they were jumping ship because they knew that it was going down? Like, I just don't know how you respect that person who's like, yeah, good luck, guys. I know I was in charge of this, but yeah, I'll see you later. By the way, look out for the iceberg. Then they just run off into the distance. Like, it really is slimy to me. It really is slimy. At least to the dude's credit, the director of Concord, that game flopped and he resigned after. He saw that through to the end and he's like, you know what? This is ultimately my responsibility. And he took responsibility for it and resigned after the game launched and was like, yep, this is on me. I respect that. I respect it. You went down with the ship. With this is sad. It's pathetic.
But it was too late. Rocksteady only conceded on one piece of feedback, adding an offline mode post-launch.
And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't that come in season 4? I think the offline story mode thing came at the very, very end, didn't it? Or am I misremembering it? I think it was like literally one of the last things they did.
Confidence was then fading fast, inside and out. That same Bloomberg report then painted a very dark picture. A culture of toxic positivity had overtaken the studio. Criticism wasn't welcome. Doubts were dismissed.
Yeah, I forgot about the way they phrased this. Several employees adopted the term toxic positivity to describe the company, the culture of the company, which discouraged criticism. Leadership didn't seem worried. They say, even as other traditionally single-player game studios that chase live service trend were delivering abysmal results with games such as Anthem, Avengers, and Redfall. You can look at this, and I mean, I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to show you a picture, and it will prove that criticism and feedback was not taken that seriously. I didn't realize they clipped my picture. I didn't know this. But this article uses a picture from our stream. That's funny. Yeah, some of these skins, dude. Where's the one with the trash bag? There's this one. Yeah, there is no way in hell that they were receiving constructive feedback during this process. This is unironic. They looked at this and said, this looks fire. Snap and approval. Like, yeah, exactly. Somebody approved this. I understand, Luke, it's inspired by old comic books and stuff. Okay, cool. Doesn't mean it looks good. So somebody should have said, stop, Mrs. Freeze, or I mean, even just the Joker. It's the Joker, baby. This whole thing was insane. At least some of these skins were kind of like at least unique and interesting. But like all of the characters had a few lines of dialogue, and when they were pitching the Joker, they were like, yeah, this Joker is like, he's kind of insecure. He doesn't have it all figured out, and he's still trying to figure out his role within this world. It's like, you're talking about the freaking Joker, and you turned him into a character who's like kind of angsty and anxious about society and where he fits in. How is he going to pay for his student loans? It's like nobody gives a crap. He's the Joker. He laughs, kills people, does crazy stuff because he's crazy. I don't need to relate to him because like we both have a literature degree that we're massively in debt over, okay? It's not that big of a deal. It's okay if he's different. He's a super villain, okay? Okay? But no, instead it's like, well, we found people didn't have a lot in common with the Joker. So we had him pursue a degree in sociology. Again, it's just so patently ridiculous, but it's so representative of this era of games where there's just no critical feedback. They're making games for people that don't really exist, and they have like an active contempt for their audience all at the same time. And if you don't like it or you make fun of it because it is ridiculous, they act like something's wrong with you, and they act like you are the one acting in bad faith when you're like, no, this is just stupid. It's just dumb. Okay. And me saying that, you should be listening to that and going, you know what? Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Thank you to viewers of the Luke Stevens Live channel. Thank you. Thank you for telling us so we don't make this mistake, so we can learn from it, grow, and give you what you want. Because ultimately, the whole point of creating a game at the end of the day is to create a product that you can sell to people. I know we can look at it and be like, well, games are art, and sometimes art is about creating something people don't want to see, but that they need to see. I get all that. That's all fine and dandy. But ultimately, this is a business, okay? Whether you love it or not, it's a business. And if I, as your customer, think the thing you made sucks, that's what you have to deal with, because I'm not going to buy it. So you got to fix it and make something that I will enjoy or I will find interesting and engaging. It's not to say you can't surprise me, but if I see something I don't like and I tell you I don't like it, for you to just still put it out and be like, no, you're going to like it. And if you don't, you're the problem. It's like, okay, then I think we're getting stupid. I think we're getting silly.
In the studio, criticism wasn't welcome. Doubts were dismissed. The creative vision had shifted from melee-focused combat to third-person gameplay, completely revamping the game. Team members waited weeks, sometimes months, for Sefton Hill, while he was still the studio lead, to approve even small changes.
Dude, weeks or months to get something approved. And this is in addition to the discussion we had earlier of David Haddad, the head of Warner Brothers Games, who also reportedly would take weeks or months to respond for approvals, budgetary restructuring, whatever it is, like just tons of stuff he would just sit on for ages and not do anything because he was just riding the gravy train. Choo-choo.
Entire chunks of the script were scrapped and rewritten. Vehicles were added, then removed.
They said, confessing that he didn't spend much time with completing games such as Destiny, the constant delays. Yeah, he hadn't spent much time with competing games such as Destiny. So he wasn't playing comparable games to try and get inspiration. He was just trying to figure it out himself and not looking for much inspiration from successes elsewhere. At one point, Hill pitched an elaborate system of vehicles that would allow players to deck out their cars with weapons and navigate through the game's alien-infested streets. But each of the 4 playable characters were already outfitted with modes of traveling, leading to more doubts among staffers. Why, they wondered, would players using Deadshot or King Shark bother with a motorcycle when they could just soar through the air? After months of experimentation and prototyping, the vehicle system was scrapped, but also still used in the game because there's a whole like vendor who just decks out like your vehicle for the 3 missions they have that used it because they were like, well, we built it, we can't just throw it away now. But just tons of wasted time and effort.
Leadership kept reassuring the team it would all come together, just like Arkham had. But this wasn't Arkham. It was hell on Earth, and not the fun kind.
Sorry, it was bad. Calling it hell on Earth is a little funny. It's a little hyperbolic, but it is funny. Because I don't think they were having, there were some developers, I'm sure, who were frustrated by this. But all of the discourse and everything that's come out after the fact was that it was actually kind of the opposite. Like they were straight up in delusion land, thinking that people were going to love this and that this was going to be awesome. It was going to be the next Destiny. It was going to be incredible. And because they didn't allow critical voices to be heard when they put it out there and it was poorly received, they were genuinely surprised and shocked, which is a similar story we've heard in a lot of other cases. Saints Row reboot, they were genuinely shocked. People mocked it and thought it looked terrible. They were genuinely shocked. Or in the case of Forspoken, there was, I think it was the narrative director said that they were really proud of Faye and the characters they had created and the writing and everything. When Forspoken went viral before it even launched because of an unedited clip of the first like 10 minutes of the game showing her just going and being like, no, I'm a teen with a bright future in front of the judge, and then randomly throwing a packet of dust she had in her pocket for some reason at somebody, and then running around and climbing over these chain link fences, and then being like, wow, I use magic. I can do that now. Wow, I can do it. I'm going to be a dad. Like it's just ridiculously cringe writing, but they genuinely had no idea people would laugh at it. They had no idea because they were that out of touch with like their audience, with their customers.
As for WB, they still believed it could be a billion-dollar franchise, so the development continued.
Despite internal concerns from frontline workers, executives from Warner Brothers kept reviewing demonstrations of the game and sending laudatory feedback, praising the graphics and saying they expected Suicide Squad to become a billion-dollar franchise. It's funny that they specifically were calling out the graphics. It's almost like some 60-year-old dude who doesn't play video games is just looking for the shiny thing and being like, oh, that means people are gonna love it. You know, like it's again, it's just very representative of the dysfunction that's plagued Warner Brothers for so long.
But the developers, they knew better. With its creative heads gone and player trust shattered, Rocksteady was now speeding towards one of the most catastrophic launches in modern gaming history. January 2024, a month before release, even more red flags. Press previews were handed out to gaming outlets, and even then...
Yeah, so Destin, friend of the channel, he, I believe, did the IGN preview for Suicide Squad. And I remember, like, people were going at him at the time for it, being like, no, you just wanted to hate on it. You're being unfair, whatever. Because there were some fanboys for Suicide Squad. Nowadays, it's kind of funny to think about it, but there were. How many of you guys, show of hands in chat, how many of you guys were here with me on the day of launch when we pulled up on Twitch and we looked at people that were trying to play the early version of Suicide Squad, and we found that guy that was calling people brokies if they didn't buy the game? People were like, oh, it's too expensive. I'm not doing that. And this dude's like, okay, well, if you want to be a brokey, that's fine. It was like unironically calling people brokies for not wanting to spend $70 on this game, which is freaking hilarious. I was here. Yeah, see all these OGs, Look at that. That's fantastic. But yeah, there were fanboys. There were people that were like hardcore trying to defend it and rock it. And it was quite entertaining because now, I mean, kind of speaks for itself, unfortunately. But the previews were quite negative, and even after they came after them, the previews were still quite negative. I want to see, does he have a clip of the stream that they did? He does not. They, at one point, they also had like Shroud. It was Shroud, Dr. Lupo, and is it Tariq? Is that who it is? They had them all come out and they played and streamed it.
If I want kind of just goofy, not gonna lie. Yeah, it's a goofy one. You hear the ding and everything. I want to send this guy flying. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, look at this. Look at this. Boom, just gone. Yeah, it's.
You got him for the rifle. That was a sick shot.
I'm gonna be real. I don't know how much they got paid for this. Okay, I don't know. I've received offers for like dedicated sponsored streams of games and stuff. And, you know, I'm nowhere near in the vein of like a Shroud, you know, or anybody like that. So I'm sure he's getting fat stacks. I don't know how much he would get, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking like well over 100. Okay. Like he probably could pretty easily negotiate something like that. Maybe. I don't think he's breaking 7 digits, but I think he's in the 6-digit range for something like this. And so I can respect the hustle getting that bag, you know, I can respect that. But I frankly love these kinds of things when a streamer or a YouTuber is sponsored and they so clearly do not like the thing they're promoting because it's so freaking funny to watch them try and not just trash it. You know, it's like that clip of Dark Viper. Dark Viper with Mind's Eye. We're at the very, very end. He's trying to like keep it together.
I was sponsored by Build a Rocket Boy to check it out. It's got some hype around it because of Leslie Benzies, who used to work for Rockstar Games. And it's not like a GTA-like game. It's well, haven't heard that much about it. I'm gonna experience it now. Hope it's good. Let's
experience it.
This is where
this is him at the end.
This preview ends of Mind's Eye. Just like to remind you guys that
Thank God.
This game was sponsored by if you want to check out Mind's Eye now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, Epic Game Store, and Steam.
Remove sponsors so you can talk.
Feel free. And type !spawn in chat and I give you a link.
Keep it together, man. It's kind of hard to keep a straight face, man. It's just bad. And to their credit, I feel like, you know, Shroud and these guys for Suicide Squad, they actually did give it a fair shake. They played it for like 2 or 3 hours or something. They played a lot of it, and you know, in that 2 hours, I'm sure they saw everything that there was. Yeah, here they are. And so they played it. They were in a party together, and you know, they got a fat stack while doing it. And you know, I appreciate that they gave them access to this. It let them share it with the audience so people could see what unedited gameplay of Suicide Squad was going to be like. And a lot of people saw this and were like, okay, yep, not for me. Not for me. So at least they gave them the chance to do that. But yeah, sponsored streams by games that are not good are one of my favorite things ever. It's just because it's always so cringy of people trying to be like, so you can get the game now, and it's I love it.
Including IGN's. We played it and didn't like it. Things were looking grim. On January 29th, early access was set to begin for users who paid $100 for the deluxe edition. As for review copies, extremely limited. Even the biggest outlets and creators were completely left in the dark.
There's an early access period that is out in
early access will be open.
6 days. 6 days if you buy like the premium version of this. And I don't know anyone who has a review code for it.
No, me neither.
Early access gamers were going in blind. But just 1 hour after launch, the servers went offline. The problem...
I forgot about this, dude. It's been too long. I forgot about this. Yeah, people bought the premium deluxe whatever thing because they weren't brokies. They weren't. And then this happened.
Well, the game auto-completed the story upon login. Rocksteady quickly issued an apology while their engineers scrambled to fix the issues. But the players were furious, at least the 7,000 people who were actually playing it on Steam. By release day, Steam numbers barely doubled, and reviews across the board mixed to negative.
But I'm not only going to be disappointed, but I'm also going to be frustrated. Frustrated that 14 years after this genre emerged, it feels like every single release is repeating the exact same mistakes. Frustrated that $100 doesn't even buy you a complete skin on the cash shop. But more than anything else, frustrated that this genre and this business model has claimed yet another scalp. 9 years for Rocksteady to follow up on one of the most seminal trilogies in the history of video games, and this is what we got.
Ultimately, the story of Suicide Squad is quite tragic. Rocksteady took a gamble at a new model and didn't pan out. Development hell, leadership shakeups, and lack of vision left the devs scrambling to stitch together a functioning product. But some few did enjoy it for what it was, saying,
dude, 9 hours on record total.
People who hate this game are dramatic. It's not the best.
Me? Dramatic? Maybe a little. Maybe a little.
Thing ever, but it's generally just not that bad. Don't pay full price though. But that
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think that's a level-headed thing. It's not the best thing ever. It's the way I described it is that it's about 2.5 hours of gameplay stretched over a 10-hour campaign. So it's really repetitive even within that 10-hour bit. You know, for like $20, I could see somebody having a good enough time for or with it to justify the purchase. But it also doesn't change the fact that the game's story was also incomplete because they were going to sell it to you in chunks, or maybe not sell it, but they were going to release it to you in chunks over previous or following seasons and stuff. So it wasn't going to just be a total package, you know.
But that didn't stop the internet from blasting all of its major issues. From graphical downgrades when comparing with Arkham Knight, to poor out-of-place writing and character design.
Tell me about it. Wasn't expecting it to come in fun size. What the fuck?
To the blatant disrespect.
That one still, I understand, like, if you just hear that line, you can understand why people would freak out over it, because it's fun size, and it's like, Harley has a relationship, let's just say, with Ivy, Poison Ivy, if you remember. And she phrased it as fun size, which I can see a writer being like, oh, because this new version of Ivy that's basically a child is small, so fun size. But you can't just say that when Harley has had a very close relationship with Ivy before, and then this is a child. Like, it just doesn't work. You can't say that. It's, again, it kind of reiterates the idea that nobody looked over the script to just be like, maybe not. Let's just change it. Let's just swap that out, you know? It feels like nobody proofread the script at all. There were other things, like the part where, who is it? Who dies? Was it Green Lantern when he dies? And one of the characters straight up pees on his corpse. Boomerang, I think, pees on his corpse. And it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, it wasn't funny. It was just, or was it when Flash dies? It was just bad. Like, it was just uncomfortable and gross. Yeah, but that's in character. I don't know, man. It felt very tonally bizarre. And maybe it is in character, like in the comics or whatever, but in their portrayal and everything they set up, it did not feel like it was appropriate. It felt very out of place, like they were playing for a cheap laugh or something. So either way, something went wrong. And typically, like with the audience, if the audience cringes or like, ugh, in reaction to something that happens, whether or not it's in character, if the audience reacted that way and that wasn't your intention for them to react that way, something's gone wrong, you know? If their reaction was not what you wanted it to be, something happened, you know. Maybe the setup to the joke wasn't right. Maybe the way you presented the character thus far wasn't right. Or maybe you should change the character's like approach because it's not clicking with the audience. They don't like it. Either way, something happened. Anyway, continue.
About it. Wasn't expecting it to come in fun size. What the fuck?
To the blatant disrespect for the Arkham legacy.
You always gotta end on your best joke.
And this one also, I think, was just very symbolic. I think that's why it clicked with everybody. Like, everybody knew what they were doing a mile away. Batman's a clone. Superman's a clone. All these people you're killing are clones. And so they're going to come back and everything's going to be fine and dandy. It's going to be fine. Who cares? We all saw through it immediately. Like, there was no real plot twist, but it was like, even if it's a clone, you're still shooting Batman in the face. So even if he's a clone, it's still bad. Except Wonder Woman, you're right. Yeah, Wonder Woman gets to be a badass.
Even if Kevin Conroy hadn't passed away, this still would have been the most disrespectful way to send off Arkham Batman.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it feels bad, man. It feels bad, man. Bad man. And that's why, like, sometimes you can do something. You could write this into the script. I get it. But you shouldn't be surprised when the audience reacts really poorly. It's the same thing with like The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, they can kill off Joel. It might even make sense in the story with everything Joel's done for Joel to die. That makes sense. But the audience is not going to like it. It's why there is, I think, a very valid point to be raised with like The Last of Us, that just because the story would warrant Joel's death, that doesn't mean maybe that we tell that part of the story. Maybe it's worth just leaving the story where it is. That's why I've said I think The Last of Us Part 2 is an incredible game technically in terms of gameplay. The AI systems are ridiculously good, things like that. But I think that it's a game whose story and the point of the story would have been much better received if it were told in a different IP with different characters, something original. Like they just made a separate game to tell that story. I think people would have responded to it way better, because when people have an emotional attachment to a character, whether it's Batman or Joel, and then you kill them in a disrespectful, gruesome way, it's just, again, you shouldn't be surprised when the audience revolts and hates it, you know?
This is how it happened. This is how Rocksteady Studios died. Some blamed DEI, pointing fingers at Sweet Baby for its failure. Others purely on its live service model. The rest just on plain mismanagement by both WB and Rocksteady. In the end, the issues were all of the above. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, in turn caused WB to bleed, reaching a $200 million loss. To put that into perspective, that's more than the budget of the Suicide Squad film in 2016, resulting in a 41% year-over-year revenue drop for WB. But instead of
that, though, I'm not saying he's trying to be deceptive or anything. I think this is just a point where we have to be like very precise. This stat is bad, but you have to like understand what this is. What game came out in 2023? That was the biggest game of the year. Hogwarts. Hogwarts caused their numbers to go like this, okay? And then kind of trail off over the next year. Suicide Squad the following year started kind of like this, and then like nothing happened because it didn't really make any money. And so this gap was described as this like massive drop in revenue. And it is a massive drop in revenue, but it's a massive drop in revenue specifically because you're trying to compare yourself to one of the most successful games of the last like 5 years. So the stat is bad, absolutely, and Suicide Squad lost a lot of money, but doing the year-over-year comparisons can get you into, you know, it's a slippery slope because you're not really comparing apples to apples. You're comparing like 1 year with not many releases to a year where they had the biggest game of the year kind of by luck. So you just have to be precise about it.
Year-over-year revenue drop for WB.
No, Lombardo, that's a different Avalanche. There's two Avalanche studios, the guys that did like Just Cause, and then there's this other one, Avalanche, out of Utah, and they did Cars 3 Driven to Win, which, yes, the game that the Hogwarts Legacy guys did before Hogwarts Legacy was Cars 3 Driven to Win. That was the last game they worked on before that.
But instead of shifting gears, Rocksteady stayed the course. They slashed the price by 90%, then dropped their first DLC.
It's the
Season
Joker,
of the
baby.
Joker, resulting in an amazing 3,000 player peak with outlets labeling it as unbelievably bad, void of content, and a mountain of grinding, and a complete lack of story.
Well, one of the things that's important to understand about this is that through the entire marketing cycle of Suicide Squad, the pitch was, yeah, the game may be hollow, but we're going to bring more characters and they will have their own stories, their own Elseworld, or I think it's Elseworlds is what they called them. And so like their own maps and missions and everything. So they're going to add significantly to the content of the game. But what actually happened, you know, people hear that and they think, okay, so we're going to get like new content. And the new content is going to be like this total package, and we're going to have story woven throughout that. We're going to get new gameplay mechanics woven throughout that as well. So we're going to get a package that has all of these new mechanics, new interactions between the characters and the map and all that. But what we actually got was a package that has like a little tidbit of story at the very end. And by a little, I mean literally they have a 90-second to 2-minute cutscene that plays out, and that's it. That's all the dialogue the character has, because you don't unlock the character for the season until after you've grinded out the same missions you've been doing previously. So it's just more of the same game with nothing new for 99% of the new season. And then after you've grinded out the new season and gotten your season rank to level 10, then you unlock the boss fight to unlock the new character if you don't want to pay $10 for them. And that new boss fight against a new Brainiac, it is literally just a reskin of another boss fight you've already done. So this whole pitch of how this game was going to redeem itself with all these new characters, new seasons, new content, it's the same content, it's reskins, and then the narrative component is so minimal that there's basically nothing there. Even when the Joker shows up, what's the dialogue between him and Harley? This is the reskin. Okay, this takes place. Joker shows up.
Wait, at least buy me dinner first.
Zinger. Yeah, exactly. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. I'm the Joker, baby. So you would think the Joker just came back. Harley's Joker died a miserable death. He's back. This is maybe an opportunity to do some really cool narrative things, right? You can like have them talk about their versions of each other, and she can maybe have some closure with him. After all, he is insecure. There's all sorts of stuff you could do. What are they gonna do? Watch it. This is all the narrative that they brought for this entire season. After waiting like 3-4 months, this is what they brought.
Don't blow this for us, man. What'd I just tell you? Wait, we don't shoot these guys here? Aw, okay, that's on me. Oh, Christ. Mandy, baby, is that you? Oh, I'm so glad you're alive.
Shut it. It was a gamble adding you to this Task Force X, and I'm sick of your bullshit already. So I guess you'll fit right in. Keep him in line.
Put it in me. Oh, mate, bloody hell. Now you've just made it weird. Hal?
Hell no. Been there, done that, got the scars, did some healing. I'm not into that type anymore.
Maladaptive narcissists?
Comedians.
Come on, Deadshot. Sharko, you want to have a go this time?
My hands are too large.
We sure about this, Director? Oh, this brings back memories of my old Suicide Squad. Here we go. They're all dead. What a tragedy. What a heartbreaker. The sprays of blood, the smell of singed hair, the viscera. Oh, the viscera. I'd definitely do it differently this time around. Cleaner.
Well, congratulations, Task Force X. It took you all of 20 seconds to lose control of him.
Hey, hey, hey. Don't misunderstand me here. I killed my team because I truly cared about them. And even though I've only just gotten to know you guys, I care about you that much too.
Colonel Flagg, lock him up.
For the record, I hate this.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Oh, is it too much? Making new friends after a move is always tough. Oh, this is much more accommodating than other cells I've been in. Is that real Cinderblock? 5 stars.
People waited months for that. Months. We owe Jared Leto an apology. Again, no joke. It's something we can meme about all day long, like toxic positivity, whatever. But I want you to like seriously put yourself in the position of sitting in an office, okay? Let's all just do a remote viewing session, okay? Let's sit together. We're all sitting around a conference table in Rocksteady Studios, and we're all working on this new game, okay? We're working on the season 1 update, and yeah, the reception to the previous has not been great so far, but it's okay. We're gonna win them back with this season 1 update with the Joker, biggest character villain ever in DC. And somebody shows you that clip you just saw, okay? Close your eyes, imagine it with me. Somebody just finished showing that on a screen at the front of the conference room, and they turn off the projector, they turn the lights to the conference room back on, and they say, so what do you think? Imagine a world in which no one says that was garbage. Imagine everyone around the table going, it's great. Imagine a world in which they say, that's gonna save the game. At that point, no. For the table to respond positively to that, your company's gone, dude. Like, your quality control, your perception of what's good versus bad, what's cringe versus not, is so out of whack. I don't think there's any saving it. Like, that's the piece where, like, yeah, we can bring up the live service elements. Yeah, we can bring up Warner Brothers influence. We can bring up all that stuff. But it's really important to just remember that ultimately, David Haddad was not making this game. He didn't make that cutscene, okay? The team at Rocksteady put that together and thought that was good. They thought it was good enough to save this game that was troubled. Like, that's where they put all their chips. And that's why, like, at some point, you know, people have asked, like, why did you cover this game so much? Why are you still talking about it 2025? Fair question. But it's really because of what these games represent, I think, largely in the industry and more broadly, because it's not just about this game that was kind of bad and released and went out the door and people are kind of moving on from. It's about an industry and a sort of structure of game development that can breed something like this without people stepping in and being like, what are we doing? Like, this should not be like hand waved away, because then it's just going to continue. Like, the people that worked on the narrative for this game really ought to be like pretty ashamed, because it's so hilariously awful. I didn't even have to say anything during that cutscene, and you were cringing your ass off. Like, and that says a lot when you can just watch an unedited clip of something and you're struggling not to bash your forehead in with the hand, like the face palming you want to do. It kind of speaks for itself. You don't need to say anything about these cutscenes within the game. They're so bad. They speak for themselves. They're just awful. Actual trash. Well, just as I thought, trash. That's what it is.
Years framed it as making Jared Leto Joker no longer the worst Joker in recent memory.
Put it in me. Oh, mates, bloody hell!
Season 2 somehow did even worse.
Oh. There's also this one where you shout out Luke. There it is. There it is. You can actually wear a trash bag. It's got to be one of the most unappealing and just offensive to the eyes outfits I've ever seen as a paid cosmetic. Bear in mind, this costs $10.
By the time Season 3 launched, the game couldn't even break 300 players on Steam. By the end of 2024, multiple layoffs followed the game's and DLC failure. By early 2025, the live service was dead. Offline mode was finally added, but by then, the damage was irreversible. As a send-off, none of it mattered. All Justice League characters, including Batman, happened to be clones. It was all a bad dream, a $70 grindy fever dream. The fall of Rocksteady echoes a familiar tale, one we have seen before with studios like BioWare, tragic and honestly depressing. And while Rocksteady still technically exists, with rumors of a Batman Beyond sequel, just like BioWare, the Ship of Theseus question applies. If most of the original talent is gone, is it even Rocksteady anymore? As of now, co-founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, with their new studio, 100 Star Games, have recruited over 100 industry veterans, many from Rocksteady. Failure often teaches more than success ever could, especially now away from AAA bureaucracy and red tape. So maybe, just maybe, even without the DC Comics IP, there's still hope. As for WB, they went on to cancel a Wonder Woman project made by Monolith, Shadow of War devs, shutting down their studio and doubling down on live service games, despite the amazing reception of Hogwarts Legacy, a single-player game. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah, it's I think also, again, it's important to stress David Haddad was pushed out, and then pretty soon after that is when all this started to really accelerate. So I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this is happening around the same time. But very, very good video, Selwen. 35,000 subs, 35,401 now. I highly recommend you go give him a sub. Crazy high production value, very, very good perspective and roundup of everything. Yeah, really, really solid. I think, the lasting legacy of Suicide Squad is not just as a lackluster game that flopped, but it's going to be a game that really was representative of a lot of different aspects of the industry that were toxic. And that's why I think it deserved to fail.
The Distinguished Dragon donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I'm a couple of hours behind on the stream, but I have to quote my favorite part of the Holes movie. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Too damn back. Keep digging.
Too damn bad. Keep digging. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for the 10, my friend. Thank you. I think the other piece of it with Suicide Squad, especially too, was this perception within the industry that there's no critical feedback with some of these games. Games like Saints Row, Suicide Squad, Concord. There are these games that all release within a fairly tight window of each other, and one of the common threads is that they flopped catastrophically with problems that were readily apparent to everybody that saw it, except seemingly within the studio. And that kind of suggests that there is a disconnect between what's being said to the dev team and what's being said internally versus what's being said by the community and by the public. And that's why I think it's important to call this stuff out, to in many ways mock it and bring it into the spotlight so everybody can see it and know about it, so that these things don't happen again. Because something like Suicide Squad was avoidable. Concord, avoidable. Like Gotham Knights, avoidable. The Wonder Woman development hell, avoidable. Like all these things were technically avoidable. It's typically just a matter of the leadership being delusional with what's going to work, what's not going to work, being out of touch with the broader community, being out of touch with what their audience wants, what their team is capable of. And that's why Suicide Squad, it's sad that it died and flopped because, in an alternative universe, there was a version of Suicide Squad that was awesome. Maybe that version with the Nemesis system, that could have been really cool. There was a version of it that could have worked. We just definitely didn't get it. And what I do know is that this version we did get deserved to fail, deserved to die. And it certainly did provide us with some great content, without a doubt.
Batman and Joker's rivalry finally ended in Arkham City. I don't doubt Batman would have saved the maniac if he could, but the Titan poison ensured this was Joker's last laugh.
Wow. This is very existential for me. I always wondered what I'd look like dead. Answer? Waxy. My Batman never held me like that. Maybe I went overboard on the chloroform? See, what I like is he could have called himself Money Man, but he went with Bat. And that's a choice.
This hyper sarcastic, irreverent, sassy kind of comedic styling that so many of these writers are using. I don't know where it started. Maybe it was Marvel, with Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Maybe it was Iron Man. I don't know what started it, but my God, I can't stand it, dude. I can't stand it. It's this snarky hoity-toity. I don't even know what to call it, but it's in all of these games. It's all this writing. Some people call it millennial writing. Some people call it Reddit humor. Yeah, I've heard that. Lawless had the most difficult to sit through dialogue ever, though. Seriously, some of Lawless's dialogue was unbelievable.
I'm Lawless. The lawbreakers already know what I'm about. But luckily for newbies, this is a good jumping on point. I did the whole Robin Hood thing in Gotham a while. That iceberg lounge party heist. Me and mine. Now Metropolis is under siege and it's being suppressed in media. I had to get in there and do something. Okay, I had some help from the Suicide Squad. Thanks, Dad Shot. Anyway, Brainiac's been doing this mega colonizing shtick across multiple dimensions. So I've been exploring, documenting, and making plans. Unlike some people. We'll work on that when they get here. So, where is here? I mean, look at this. What even is this, Brainiac?
What even is this? That's a good question.
Actually, first, I have something to show y'all.
I hope the stream crashes.
Straight from Brainiac's lab. Woo!
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. Wait, I've got more. Because it's also the acting performance too, okay? Just, again, pillows on your hands. This is, guys, this, Jacob, when you edit this clip, this is like the epilogue post-credit scene, okay? This is like the thing for people after they got through the core of the reaction video. This is the real challenge, okay? This is that final challenge in Hot Wings where they take it with the full dab. You know, that's what this is, okay?
Tell Waller we're not letting her do that to any kid. Any more kids.
Welcome to task.
Hold on, did the hair not load in? I remember seeing this once before. Hold on. Oh, this is the low poly version when she's off screen. And then it clips to the full version. That's cursed right there. That's scary. Anyway.
Welcome to Task Force X. Zoe Lawton.
Oh. Again, if I were directing a community theater play, I'd be like, what the hell was that? Do that again. No, that's not how we're doing it on stage. That was terrible. And I don't know what I'm doing. But even I would be like, that, no, what? No.
Here we go.
Here we go.
This is low. Even for you, Waller.
Hello? I'm right here? That is so like you to go right past me.
I haven't asked anyone to do anything I wouldn't do myself in this situation. I certainly haven't compromised my morals. Maybe you're just projecting.
Oh yeah, project him. Eat that, loser man.
He's 13 years old. You can't
Dad! I'm 18. This is my choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right.
And again, I pointed this out before. Common thing with like, I don't know what to call it, but when I was in like theater classes in college, because they were easy electives to take, my theater teacher would have like given me an F if I were doing what she's doing repeatedly. Can you spot it? Can you spot it?
My choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right. My choice.
Every like 4 words is a separate head movement. It's a separate little thing. It's like a dance. It's like a dance. Every line, Dad, I'm doing the best I can.
Choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right, which
I mean.
thought you'd be all about. And I definitely do know what I'm getting into, okay?
Yeah, girl. Don't let your dad tell you what to do, you rebel.
Your dad's right. You can't go making life-altering decisions like that. I didn't listen to my old man. You want to end up like me?
Have you ever even seen the bomb in your heads? Because I've gone over full schematics, and according to my information, y'all are the ones who let a shady government agency strip you entirely of your rights.
That's the thing is, it starts to sound like weirdly...
Jack donated $10 through Super Chat. I'd rather be waterboarded.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I'm ready. It's just, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's all garbage. I just think, you know, whenever I start to feel bad, I'm like, were we too hard on it? Did we like plow that game into the dirt? And I'm like, I watched this. I'm like, nope, we didn't go hard enough. we could have gone way harder on this game. Oh, and it probably would have deserved it, you know. Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. Anyway, there you go. There you go. There's our final bit of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Good video from Selwen. Go subscribe. Check him out. Links below. All of that good stuff. took my thing.